Hey, welcome back. This is episode 24, and this is your host, Melvin Tan. How's everyone doing? This is a Friday night, and here in Singapore, it's a great day because I think today is the first day that we have come out of what we call the circuit breaker, which means, it's a lockdown. And right now, people are able to get back to the streets and they're able to, go back to um, having uh, sitting in restaurants and all that kind of cool stuff. So all the kind of activities have resumed. That said, the many among us are still staying put at home because we're just not too sure if it is a good thing to kind of rush outdoors right now. I mean, if there is no absolute need, why put yourself in possible contact with other people who have had the virus or who have the virus but doesn't know, right? And well, I mean, for our family, we're just staying home today, and just pretend, just going on as life but normal. Now, today I want to talk to you about this topic. It's about learning, and I think learning has been a very big part of my life. I spend a good amount of time learning about the topics that I have been skilled in. For example, right? I mean, I spent close to 5 years in the university learning as well as teaching economics in the later part of my university life, right? And I think economics has been a great, a great skill, a great topic, a great field for me to specialize in. It has definitely allowed me to think of things not just at a surface level, but enable me to see things, even at a second degree and a third degree level. So what do I mean by that? A lot of time, many of us, when we see certain things or certain things that we have to do, we usually see at the first level. For example, I got to get up and run tomorrow. And so I see at the first level, like, it's going to cost me a lot of pain by getting up early, and I would have to put on my shoes when everyone else asleep, and I had to go out there and do the treacherous run, and then I get myself all sweaty and then it's going to be all uncomfortable, the kind of thing, right? So that's the first degree. The second degree, it's really or the second order, as they call it, it's really that if you kind of do something like this on a consistent basis, right? I mean, every day, if you just do it individually, it doesn't seem to amount to very much. But over time, if you do kind of do this consistently, like what I've done, is that you have built up some level of immunity, you have built up some level of energy, and you are better able to, see through a day or even see through an episode, which requires a lot of tenacity, a lot of, for you to handle a lot of stress, like what has happened in the last couple of weeks for me, for example, right? So at a point in time, you may see it as first level or first order, that, you have to get up and go for a run, and it's not going to be very pleasant. But then at the second degree or the second order, that's where you start seeing the benefit. And of course, the third order of things, which is a little bit deeper, it's where you see that, well, if you are better able to handle stress or handle work in general, what's going to happen is that you become better able to do a lot of things that other people might not be able to. And so in general, it's like one small little habit, one small little thing that you do could actually lead to a tremendous amount of benefits, for example. So reading and writing, as well as learning, is one of them, right? I mean, like I mentioned earlier, in this episode itself, I said I spent an enormous amount of time learning about things, and arguably, the my ability to know how to create videos was actually something that I learned over time, where I just decided to start doing it, and after a while, I decided that, hey, there's a need for me to improve, and so I started learning. As I learned, I implemented, and then things happen. But I think this is something that many of you are already familiar with, right? I mean, you learn and then you practice, and that's how you grow. You learn, you practice, and that's how you grow, right? I mean, if you just spend the time learning and without putting it into practice, then, unfortunately, you're just going to be a very learned individual without any real life application whatsoever, right? So the key thing here is that, you have to learn something, but you got to put it into practice. And as you put it into practice, you are able to kind of ascertain whether what you've learned is going to be useful. And if it's useful, then that's where you grow. So for example, in the couple of weeks since the lockdown itself, one of the key things that I have kind of forced myself to learn is no-code technology. Now, what exactly is no-code technology? In the past, if you want to put up a website, for example, you got to know HTML, right? Hypertext markup language. So in order for you to know HTML, you have to have some kind of basic programming, fundamentals in place. And in those days, to actually set up a website, you actually have to hard code everything, right? I mean, when I first started out, I hard coded, my entire website, both in English as well as Chinese. But these days, you have tools that's so much easier, whereby you can just type into a content management system, and then voila, you will have your website display as how you want it to be. And these days, what they have done is that, even with WordPress itself, you still need a fair bit of coding, because if you want to make minor changes, or you want to make some changes to the look and feel, and to some of the color in terms of the standard theme that comes with it, you actually have to dig a little deeper into the CSS and all that stuff. Now, unless you are familiar with coding, otherwise CSS is something that is out of the way, because you will not be able to make those changes unless you are able to do custom CSS. Now, then fast forward to today's context itself, you have a ton of what we call no-code tools. Now, this no-code tools, basically no-code or low-code, right? So this no-code tools, basically what it allows you to do is that without even writing a single line of code, you are able to create a website the way that you intend it to be. And so if you want, text here and a photo here and, some buttons here, you can actually do that without writing any single line of code. All you need to do is just to drag and drop some of the blocks, and there you have it. You are able to get it done. And so, one of the things that I kind of forced myself to do in the last couple of weeks was that I forced myself to learn a couple of no-code tools, because what I wanted to do was that I wanted to build a system. I want to build an automated system that allows me to do the marketing on on autopilot without me having to interfere unless I want to. And so one of these tools that I have come across is this tool called MailerLite, right? So MailerLite is a great tool. I would encourage you to check it out. And and I need to qualify that this link itself is actually an affiliate links, which means that if you sign up using this link and you upgrade to a paid version, I get some kind of a commission, right? So that aside, so one of the tools that I use is MailerLite. Now, MailerLite, what it allows you to do is that it allows you to put in place a landing page, and if you pay for their paid tier, you can actually create your own website using their drag and drop feature itself. So you do not really actually need WordPress. So what happened is that on MailerLite allows me to create landing pages, beautiful landing pages with templates, as well as the ability for me to customize if I want to. It also allows me to create a marketing campaign. So if I want to run a campaign, I'm actually able to do that. But the best part here is that it allows you to automate the entire marketing campaign without you even having to lift a finger. So like, for example, today I just put in place a 6 email sequence in an automated process that is to be sent out automatically once someone pull the trigger, right? And you might think that, well, this is something that has been around for the longest time. True. And the fact is that in the past, if you want to do something like this, the technology is there, although you have to play around with it a little bit. But the other thing is that you have to pay. And so with Miller Lite, what happens is that you do not have to pay a single cent, even for the automated function, which is really, really cool, because for all the other similar tools itself, they do offer a free tier, but in order for you to have that automated function, you actually need to pay. And so Miller Lite allows me to do that for free. And this is great because I'm just trying out and testing out some of the things that I am working on. So, this no code tools have been phenomenal to me. Now, then there is just this other thing that I'd like to share with you about learning. I think is something that not many people talked about, or not talked about enough. And this is the idea of you learn, you not only apply, but you synthesize. Now, what do I mean by that? Take for example, you take two seemingly unrelated fields and you put them together, and voila, you have a winning success formula. An example I can give you is, think of running and think of technology, right? Think of running and think of wearable technology. And what you have is, the first people on the scene is Nike Plus, right? I still remember those days. Nike Plus actually sells this token where you put into your shoe and you run with your iPhone, and it's actually able to track how far you run with a lot more accuracy than just using the phone itself. Of course, over time, other companies came up with similar tools like a Fitbit and all that companies, right? But it all started with a simple idea, or maybe not simple, but an idea of taking two seemingly unrelated fields and putting them together. Another example I can give you, which became a billion-dollar thing, it's Instagram, right? So Instagram was cell phone and cell phone camera, and the fact that most people do not take very good photos with their cell phone, and so they came up with this thing called a filter. So cell phone camera and filter, and the ability to upload very quickly onto a platform, and that becomes Instagram, right? So again, it's two seemingly unrelated field of photography and as well as social media, putting that two together, and you have something that is unique and something that is taken the world by storm, right? Of course, you can think of many other examples in that respect itself. Like, for example, if you pair technology as well as idle assets. For example, you have Uber, you have Airbnb. Those are great examples as well. So the point I want to make here is that while learning is at one level, and of course you can put that into practice and you will grow, but where the sweet spot happens is when you are able to put two things that are seemingly unrelated together, and that is something that gives people a very refreshing offering, that I would say, right? So some of the things that I've been thinking about has been follows, and I put it into action. So what I've came up with is, I started this thing about, every one of us these days, we become responsible for our own, our own branding, if you like, right? I know some people don't like the term branding itself. So, you are responsible for your own publicity. Let's put it that way, right? Because no one, unless you're going to pay someone, otherwise no one is going to be, recommending you and helping you amplify your message, right? Not unless there is some benefit to them. So if you're going to be solely responsible for your own publicity, your own PR, you then have to kind of do it in a way that doesn't take up all your time, because content creation and putting yourself out on the internet, doing shows like this can be very time consuming. And not every one of us have that kind of time to be able to do things like this. And so you want it to be very streamlined, and yet you need to put in enough time to do this. And so there are a few kind of points here that are all over the place. So one is that you need to put yourself out there, right? You need to put yourself out there. That's one. Number two is that you need to know how to put yourself out there, and then to be able to attract the people that you want to serve, whether they be your customers or they be your prospective employers, or they be your clients, for example. And then the third aspect is that you really need a system that it's easy to implement. Better still if it's cost effective, and it allows you to very, very easily and very, very quickly put everything together and to test it, right? So you have 3 blocks. One is that you're responsible for your own PR. Number 2 is that with your own PR itself, you need to be able to attract the very people that you would like to serve. And thirdly is that you need to have a system, right? A system, better still if it's an automated system, a system that allows you to do this in an automated manner. Okay, so when you put these 3 things together, I've been learning about all these 3 things. So first is, how do I put myself out there in terms of using videos, in terms of writing, in terms of podcasting. I've done a lot, and I've seen what is successful and what is not, right? And so, when I look at all the things that I have been doing, and I look at it, and I say that, wow, I think the best way to do it is the way that most people don't want to do it. Right. So what do I mean by that? Because, a lot of people can write, or a lot of people think that they can write, or a lot of people, writing doesn't require you to be there. Right. In other words, you can put out a good blog post, but that could be written by somebody else. Right. But doing video is going to be very, very different, because you cannot scale video in a way that you can scale writing. What do I mean by that? I mean, to record the video, you have to be there. I mean, I can't hire a stunt double or kind of something like that to make the videos for me. It's just not possible, right? And so in order to make the video, I actually have to take time out from my schedule to do this whole thing. And the fact that I'm doing it, because it's the fact that most people would not want to do it, because either they think they're shy, they do not know what to say, or they do not have the right gear, or they just don't have the time. Right? But what if it's not an option anymore? Right? What if it's not an option anymore? So that part, I kind of figured that out. The other part that I kind of figure out, it's how to create a community, right? And many times people say that to create a community, you need to have that 1,000 true fans. But let me ask you something. Do you have 1,000 real friends? I mean, people that you kind of keep in touch on a regular basis? I don't think it's possible, right? So I don't think it's humanly possible without, faking it. So if you want to talk about, having relationship with people, having great relationship with people, I think, 10 to 12 is probably all I can take. And with that 10 to 12 people, that's, people that I kind of speak on a regular basis, people that I can talk to on a regular basis. I can confide them. They could ask me questions. I think 10 to 12 is about all I can take. And so the way to create a community like this, it's really not easy, because you need to invest time in it. And the other thing is that you need a lot of resources, especially if you're doing it online, especially if the person that you're building the community with isn't, physically located in the same place as you. What if the person is somewhere else in a different time zone? And so how do you get all those things together, right? So that again, is going to be, kind of tough. And so I am still in the process of figuring that out, but I've already started that process itself. Now, the third part is something that I'm really, really keen on, and that is the part about, creating a system. Now, when we talk about creating a system itself, it's really about having that process all being mapped out, workflow being mapped out. And once you know what that workflow is like, you are then able to kind of put everything in place, and then to use, the no-code tools to kind of help you with that, right? And so that's something that I've been fascinated with, and I've been investing a lot of time, effort, energy, money, resources into this place itself. And that's basically what I'm building. And so if you want to find out more about what this whole process, what this whole system is, I know right now it still sounds a little fuzzy, but if you want to get, a bit more information about what this is, then definitely you want to leave me a comment, and I will be more than glad to inform you when this thing is launched. Likely this thing is going to be launched next week, and so more information is going to come out as I do the live stream. I will be sharing with you more, but until then, this is Melvin Tan, and I hope you stay home, stay safe, and I'll speak to you on the next one. Bye bye.